Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan and this is Jacqueline and we're from Parent Portfolio and we're entrepreneurs, real estate investors, and parents to two lovely children. We review personal finance content and share with you our personal insights and even our recommendations how you can apply it in your life. In today's topic, we're going to cover people who become successful later in life usually adopt these 9 daily habits. So we'll go through each one of them and break them down. So the first one here says, embracing continuous learning. So we're not going to go in depth on the actual paragraph here, but overall, what are your thoughts on embracing continuous learning?
I think that's something I've always been mindful of, or even something I wanted to do even as a young kid. It's not that I necessarily liked school. It's just like I liked learning new things.
So one thing that I personally found later in life is reading books. I always thought that books wasn't for me. I thought it was really boring and slow. But what actually I realized is that I actually need to find the right kind of book that spoke to me, the right kind of author. And you turned me on actually to, the famous book of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right.
You gave it to me and said, hey, I always wanted to read this book. And what happened? That same day, or actually the next day,
I found the book.
Yeah. I knocked it out within 24 hours. And it really spoke to me because it really talked about wealth building. And from that point on, I felt like I was seeking more business-related books, wealth-related books, real estate investing, and it just came naturally. But I do really believe that if you find something that speaks to you, you'll seek it out. And just reading alone, you can go on your phone to a library. There are many resources out there that you can continue to improve yourself.
I think also embracing continuous learning, not only from books and other resources, but also from those around you. I think even as a kid, I always liked learning from other people. Even when people made mistakes in life, I like to hear their story, because not that I don't want to repeat their mistake, but I wanted to learn something from it, or maybe there was something I could understand from it and apply it somehow in my life, even if we were on two different journeys. So just learning from other people, both positive and negative.
Yeah, I think that's the scary part about trying to be successful. People are scared to take risks, but if you can find someone in that space or in the industry that you want to be in, they can become a mentor,
right?
And they can share with you their personal experiences where you make less mistakes because they're sharing what they learned too. Right. So I totally agree with you. Finding people who can share their knowledge. Yeah. So number 2 here says prioritizing health and wellness. And typically we talk about wealth, right? But in this article, it talks about becoming successful later, and these are daily habits. And here it says prioritizing health and wellness, which is kind of interesting, right? Because we talk about personal finance, but aside from managing our money, we actually do focus on our health and wellness too.
I think we're trying as we're growing every year in business and personal lives. I think that's kind of the benefit of starting to become a little bit successful is you do have a little bit more breathing room. You can focus a little bit more on your health and your family's health, and not just, repeating every single day over and over again and pushing it off like, okay, January 1, we're going to reset our whole family's life. We're going to meal plan, exercise, do all the things. We're still very busy.
Yeah.
But it does, once the businesses are kind of on autopilot, then you have a little bit more time to think about it.
I was very guilty about this. When we we're doing our side hustles, right? It is really a side hustle,
right?
Because we have our day job. So when was the time? I'd wake up very early in the morning, staying up late. I remember I was falling asleep while typing on my computer. Hopefully, that was a sign that that was time to quit that night. But I guiltily was sacrificing my own health. I probably wasn't eating well, and with the pandemic happening, staying home, sitting around time, I mean, I gained some weight, right?
Right. I think we all did.
Yeah, but I think that's something that I've been trying to prioritize more, right? Being more mindful, right? When the kids come home, shut down that laptop,
Yeah.
right? Go to bed early. It's actually easier said than done, but in the long run, right? I mean, we don't want to build wealth, but also not spend time with our loved ones, right? So trying to eat better, trying to sleep better, trying to even hydrate better too. Like these are habits that, you know, you also want to enjoy what you've built over time.
I think it's also trying to be an example for our kids, you know, that yes, you work hard, but it's also important to take care of yourself, because what's all the glory if you have all this money and you're sick? You can't enjoy it.
So the next one here is embracing failure. And this one is very, very true, right? Like even to myself, like I feel like sometimes I'm very hard on myself. And that's where I really lean on you as my partner to really like, it's kind of, we all help each other when one's down and lifts each other up, and vice versa here too. So being okay to make mistakes, right? I mean, there's a saying like, you don't make mistakes, you just gain experience.
And I think that gets easier as you get older. So the sooner you can practice embracing failure and being okay with it and turning the ship around when things go not the way you planned, the sooner you can think of alternate solutions to your problem, I think the easier it is to continue to grow.
Yeah, I think it comes back with the whole growth mindset thing,
Right.
right? Because there will always be challenges where things may not go your way, but then how do you deal with that situation? Do you say, all right, this is the end of the road, it's not going to work out? Or are we going to adapt and adjust? I mean, we've
come through a couple of those where we'd have to adjust and take stock what's going on. You know, this is not what we planned, but how do we move forward?
Yeah, I think, I mean, going to a little personal story here, I think there was a really low in sometimes our businesses, and I would take it upon myself to like feel like I had to break you the bad news, right? But then you kind of turn around saying, well, this isn't the end, actually, this is just a bump in the road. And I mean, once again, reflecting on you, leaning on you, you know, as my spouse and partner, you really helped me realize that stuff. So, you know, sometimes you're in the low, but you know, finding strength and able to overcome. I mean,
yeah, I think in addition to where it says embracing failure, it's almost like expect failure. Expect failure to happen, and then you won't be surprised. I mean, don't work for failure, but expect that things are gonna happen or come out of nowhere, and just take a minute, grieve whatever failure you had, and get back up.
This reminds of us when we do our real estate. When so when we flip these houses, right, and when we have tenants, right, we set aside money not for if it will happen, but when it will happen, because
something's going to break.
Yeah, and so when we had our first property, and like the refrigerator broke, my brain was melting. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the end. And
people didn't even live there 6 months, and they needed a new fridge.
Yeah, and it took a mind shift to like overcoming it, because that's just how it is. I mean,
and we were just starting. So we didn't even really have the emergency fund fully built up for something. I mean, we had started, like what we always talk about, slowly save up, right? Well, we were in the slowly part. Like there was barely a ground level of emergency fund.
It was the first time being a landlord, right? And I want to do good to our tenants. So when I hear that the fridge breaks, like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe it. You know, that happened, right? So, I mean, now I think our other property, what happened? Like the dishwasher needed replaced. Now I'm just like,
okay,
just fix it, replace it, right? And you know, understanding that now, that's just part of it.
Right.
And now we have friends who are also investing in real estate. And I think we talked about, one of them was worried, like, oh, what if this happens? That now we can say
it will.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when and how do you prepare for it. Yeah. Expect it.
Yeah. Embracing whatever comes your way. Yeah. And the next one here is cultivating patience. So going back to real estate, right? It's not a get rich quick scheme, right?
Right,
This was
especially the game that we play. We play the long-term investment game. So we don't expect to realize any of these profits, if you want to call them profits, until they're paid off, which is in years to come.
So these houses have like, multi-year mortgages, right? So like when people buy real estate, I mean, if you look at the numbers, right, you have just what income, but you still have the mortgage and taxes. The cash flow is really little. I mean, we don't live off the cash flow because we're looking at the long-term game. Our long-term game is actually loan pay down.
Right.
So that we usually have like short notes. Instead of like a 30-year mortgage, we may do like a 15 or 20, right? But with the goal of like, all right, whatever cash flow we make, we actually set that aside for emergency fund.
Right.
But when they get paid off, that's by the time our kids are like adults.
Yeah, they'll be around college age or just about entering or just entered. And so that was our plan, is to help them with whatever they choose to do at that time.
So that's like one example of just patience in the real estate game. When running like our online businesses too, I mean, when we first started, guiltily, I mean, I thought like in 6 months we could make money, and that did not happen. So just to be clear, I did fall in the trap of saying, hey, make money easy online, and that did not happen, right?
Right.
I don't know
not to say that there aren't people who are successful, and maybe those people are doing it full time, but keep in mind, when we started our online business, we were both working full-time jobs, and so we weren't dedicating a full day's work into these endeavors. And so we're not discounting what the courses may promise you. Just again, like it says earlier, expect failure.
Manage expectation,
and have patience.
And managing that it will take time. Be patient, but work on your goal. Work towards the goal
every day. Do something towards your goal.
And I think after, I mean, it took 18 months, right, to make our first $1,000, right? After that, understanding what it actually takes, that actually helps us manage our failures. Going back to the one instance where there was a bump in the road, now we can say, all right, well, we can do this again.
What have we learned from it?
Exactly.
What have we learned from it so that we don't get ourselves in this exact situation again?
And so we say, it's what it's saying, like looking through the forest, right? Looking past trees. We know it's possible now, knowing that we've done it. It's just a matter of just time now. And that's something that we try to impart to our friends, right? But it's the experience that you gain that you can say, all right, I've been through it before, that it will just take some time.
Yeah.
Next here, practicing gratitude. And I love this one, especially that our kids are getting older now, and they're around us all the time when we talk business sometimes. And the one thing that we also impart to them, is like, whatever we have, whether it's successful or, if it's humble, right? Let's always be thankful.
Right.
And I'm really proud of our kids, shout out to them if they're growing up listening to this stuff, but I'm really proud of how they are grateful and very thankful, like when they have a birthday or a gift or anything, that it's always the thought that counts, right? And they've really embraced that.
Yeah.
Next one here, valuing relationships. So what more can I say that I think us as partners running the biz together has helped us a lot, but also other business that we have built was through the networks that we've worked with. The people that we have met along the way have become great friends to us.
Right. And so it's not just a transaction, right? It's, caring for each other and, being able to take the time to get to know people on another level outside of business.
Yeah, I think that's one of the nice things about having our little, we kind of have like a small friend group. It's like, I don't really call it a mastermind group, but it's just a group of friends that just organically grows. And we just kind of find like-minded people and we talk about things and everyone shares. And not for own personal gain, right? But somehow we've all learned from each other.
Right. It goes back to embracing learning, right? And how I said, like, if our experience can help anybody, like, make different choices in their life, not to necessarily follow we don't have a blueprint to follow, but just give other people a different point of view, or maybe like, I never thought of things that way. Maybe I'll go look into something else.
Yeah. So number 7 here, setting clear goals. I think this is really good, especially when you're coming with milestones, right? Because it's nice to say, hey, I want to be a millionaire or bazillionaire or whatever, right? But I think there needs to be some kind of milestones in between to kind of make sure you're on the path to reach those goals, right? So when you're running a business, like, what is that expectation, right? Do you want to build out XYZ, or how many customers do you want there, or how many outputs? I think having some kind of metrics in place will kind of keep you in the right path.
Right. I think even like this article, right, is supposedly geared towards becoming wealthy later in life. I think as you gain experience, you get better at tweaking and honing in like what is accomplishable in a good matter of time. And so as you get older and more experienced, you get better at setting better goals.
Yeah.
And then, making sub plans in case you need to take another route.
Yeah. So once again, this article is about building habits and setting these goals, and combined with like patience and embracing failures. I think that's what's really helped me kind of get out of rut sometimes. I mean, there are sometimes unexpected failures, but understanding what it takes, you can say, all right, well, then give myself 3 months to get to this point, another 3 months. And then when you plan that out, you're not it helps avoid the stress of worrying about the day to day,
right?
Because you're seeing it, all right, this is what I'm trying to accomplish right now. If I got this, okay, good, then I can move forward, versus like, okay, this is not working, we got to shift or quit even.
Right.
Okay, last one here. Oh, not last one. It says number 8, taking time for self-reflection. So do you want to take this one?
I think that kind of goes along also with practicing gratitude. But in this sense, it's reflecting on, what went well, what's not going well, just like what you said about the goals. Once you set those goals and as you work towards them, you need to take time to take a step back and see how did it go.
Yeah.
And if it's not going well, truly, you gave it a good effort. And if it's truly not going well, don't waste your time continuing down that path. Maybe if you're going to continue down that path, then tweak it a little bit based off what you find. But also,
it says here, you could do journaling or meditation or doing a quiet walk. I'm always talking about our children here, but when I tuck in our son at bedtime, she walks in on me. I'm talking to him about our day, right? I would say, so this is what I'm doing, and he's a good sport about it. He likes his father-son time, right? But I do share with him what I'm working on, and
so that's how you reflect.
I think so, right?
I'm a journaler.
Yeah, and so
you're a talker.
Like, how's it going, or how's this thing, right? And so just by, I call it osmosis, right? He's listening, he's taking it in, and that's how I kind of reflect, right? I'm reflecting on him. So, and number 9, it says, last one here, being persistent, right? So not giving up. So when things get tough, right? We kind of talk about this, embracing failure, setting goals, right? Being patient, being persistent, right? So if you have these habits, right, do you agree that these are the habits of a successful person later in life?
I think definitely these do become habits that are adopted later as you become successful, because you're not going to be able to have all these habits right away. It's nice to read about it if you're just beginning in your journey, or even for us just to keep in mind, like, okay, we should be doing these on a daily basis so that we can practice those muscles, so that we can continue to have the strength and the mindset to continue to grow forward.
Yeah.
Right.
What's really interesting is that these are things that we've realized we agree with because we went through it.
Right. And we're still going through it. So like we said, there's going to be ups and downs. And I think, just training your mind and not being beat down on it.
Yeah.
And when we practice all those other things, health, wellness, practicing gratitude, and self-reflection, that's what kind of gets you out of those ruts, right? So that you can embrace failure, and then you will continue to embrace continuous learning. It's like they're kind of cyclical. Like you kind of do need these daily habits. So yeah, I agree that these are 9. I'm sure there are more daily habits.
I look back and I say to myself, many years of, when we started, right? Did we have any of these back then? I think there's probably, if our audience, they could relate to this, right? There probably is some kind of self-doubt or even a fixed mindset, right? And so this all comes down to being able to overcome challenges,
If I'm going to self-reflect right now, I think it maybe just takes one of these things. If you pick one to be your goal to adopt as a daily habit, even if you're just starting out. For me, it was the continuous learning, which was kind of funny because it was actually through my work. They made me read all these books. So I was like, okay, well, now I have to read. I like reading, right? But we had little kids and gave myself excuses. I don't have time to read. Well, now I have to read these books for work. And it was that reading and learning, taking in different points of views. That's, I think, where it started for me. And even in those leadership trainings, it was also, okay, let's self-reflect. So my work was trying to, teach us to be good leaders, but these are also, and to be successful, not just entrepreneurs, right? But just to be successful in life. I think take one of these pieces, work on them on a daily basis. And what's funny is it'll just snowball. You'll pick up other habits. You'll run into people in different circles and you'll be like, oh, that person's doing that. I'm going to give that a try. It seems to be working. Not that you're necessarily copying, but you see what works for them and you can see yourself doing it. Yeah. I think that's my self-reflection for right now.
I think this is actually perfect. And so I'll throw the question to our audience, right? Which one of these habits speak to you? Which one of these habits are you adopting? And which one would you like to adopt? Do you agree with this list? Let us know in the comments below. And that's our episode for today. We thank you for your time and we wish you the best.